Today I'm going for the Platinum Trophy in Minecraft. I mean, what a classic game. So of course, the first thing I had to do in the game was to create a new world, and just get going really. Also yes, I did misspell my world name somehow. I was imagining the amazing forest I was going to spawn in, beautiful landscapes all around me, but of course I had to spawn in Antarctica, like what the hell man. All I could do was punch the nearby tree, and after doing that, I got my first trophy. Pretty much 5 seconds after that, I got 2 more trophies by opening my inventory and making a crafting table. I also spotted a village. I was so happy to find any sort of civilization, and I was also excited to rob all of their belongings, I'm not gonna lie. But instead of a lively village, I found something out of a horror movie. All of them had turned into zombies. After I beat one of them with a stick, I got a trophy for defeating a monster. Now that I know of the cruelty of this Minecraft world, I made some new items, being a pickaxe, a sword, and a furnace. And I got trophies for making each one of them. Of course, this game being called Minecraft, mining is a big part of it, and I really wanted to find some iron. But to mine it, I needed a better pickaxe, so I upgraded myself to a nice new stone pickaxe. And surprise surprise, they gave me another trophy. Yeah, they give you trophies for doing very basic things at the start of the game. At this point though, I realised that I needed some place to call home, and preferably nowhere near any ice and polar bears. I kept wandering through the forests and mountains, and eventually, I found a nice little patch of land for myself, so I started to build my home. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I built probably the most basic and generic Minecraft house in existence, but you know what? I'm proud of it, I don't care what anyone says. I got another trophy here for smelting my first bit of iron, but I only had 2 pieces, so I couldn't even make a pickaxe. An iron pickaxe is very important to get, as that lets you mine diamonds, so then you can get a diamond pick, and then you can go to the Nether, which is a place that I absolutely love, but I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here. For now, I just focused on decorating my little Minecraft house. Something that was lacking at this point though, was food. Steve was starving, man. As well as steak, I got some leather from a cow, and I got a trophy for harvesting some leather. Harvest is one word for it.
Now get in the blender!
After that, I went on this massive mining adventure in this cave. The caves are so crazy now after all of the updates added to the game. I feel like they can just go on forever. I got loads of resources here like coal, copper, and I got quite a bit of iron as well. I upgraded all of my tools to iron ones, and I also decided to make a set of iron armor which got me a trophy. This was pretty important as there can be a lot of enemies around you at times, especially down here in these dark caves. The skeletons are definitely the worst, they can just constantly hit you. Another easy trophy I got here was from eating a pork chop which a pig gave me very kindly earlier.
I'm stuck, get out!
My main goal in this cave though was to find diamonds. I wanted to craft a diamond sword and a pickaxe, and eventually I found some. And when I say some, I mean just one. I found 1 single diamond. It was better than nothing and got me a trophy, but what was I meant to do with 1 diamond?
This is my kidney stone.
Pretty soon after that though, I found a few more, so now I had 7 in total. I'd spent a lot of time down in this cave, so I decided to return home. I dug myself out of the cave, and surprisingly, I popped out right next to my house. I was so excited, but then something pretty unfortunate happened. You see, I hadn't slept at all while I was down in that mine, which meant that the phantoms were now out. These are pretty powerful monsters and they can kill you pretty quickly early on in the game. I tried to run, but they were just too powerful, so I died. I got all my stuff back, but I did lose a lot of levels, which was a shame, since they're essential to enchanting and upgrading your gear. Anyway, after that I made a diamond pickaxe, and using some water and lava, I mined some obsidian, which I used to make a nether portal. Of course, to activate it, I had to use flint and steel, and after doing that I got a trophy. What was pretty nice was as soon as I got to the nether, I got the trophy adventuring time, which was for discovering 17 of the 40 biomes in the game. It's a bit of a weird trophy, but I'll take it. I was pretty scared of the nether to be honest, so I decided to leave it for a bit and get some other random trophies done. I first decided to build myself a nice little farm with some seeds, and after crafting myself a hoe, I got 2 trophies, one for crafting it and one for crafting every type of tool in the game. After that, I used a pair of shears on this sheep which got me a trophy, and getting this colour of wool was also pretty important for another trophy later on, which I'll go through later. I also decided to get another trophy here called Delicious Fish, which as the name suggests, it required me to catch and cook a fish. I continued to expand upon my farm by getting some cows, as they're a good source for meat and leather is actually surprisingly useful for when I get to enchanting later on. After I bred the 2 of them, I got the trophy repopulation. My farm was starting to go pretty well, and using some of the wheat I got from growing my seeds, I baked some bread which got me a trophy. That was all of the easy trophies I decided to complete, and I finally decided to go to the Nether and get it done with. What I was searching for in the Nether was a fortress, so I could find some blazes. They're not that rare, but it can take a while to find one. The Nether is also pretty dangerous to travel through. The piglins around you don't bother you if you're wearing a gold piece of armour, so they're not too bad, and actually kinda useful with their trading mechanic where you can give them pieces of gold for items. I decided to use this strategy where you ride a strider, and they can actually move around on the lava safely, and so from there, I kept searching around on the strider, looking for any signs of a Nether fortress, but after a lot of searching, I finally found one and started exploring it. I was mainly looking for a blaze spawner so I could get loads of blaze rods, which you need to beat the game. As I was making my way through the fortress, I found the odd blaze or two, and I got a trophy for defeating one and getting its blaze rod. Shortly after that though I died, which was pretty heartbreaking, I'm not gonna lie. I had enough iron to make some more tools and armour, and luckily I had the coordinates of a Nether fortress, so I could slowly make my way back there. I got another trophy in between doing this, which I don't have the footage for, but I can explain what happened. So you know the piglin trading feature I mentioned a bit earlier? Well, I decided to bring some gold with me on one of my trips back to the Nether fortress, and I got pretty lucky with my trades. I got some ender pearls, and I got a fire resistance potion. So I decided to use the potion, and then I jumped into some nearby lava. I survived, and I got the trophy Staying Frosty for swimming in lava while having the fire resistance effect. And that's pretty much how I got that trophy. After dying again in the Nether, I decided to take a bit of a break, and I wanted to make a little bit more progress. So I had a look at my trophy list to see if there were any easy trophies I could do. There are two that I found that were really simple. To get the trophy Renewable Energy, I had to smelt wood using coal to get charcoal, which was really easy. And to get the second one, literally all I had to do was place a sign on the floor. Before I headed back into the Nether, I decided to enchant my items so I could stand a bit more of a chance against the blazes and wither skeletons. Of course, to do that, I needed an enchanting table, and after crafting one, I got a trophy. To get better enchantments, you need to put bookshelves around the table, and I got the librarian trophy for crafting one. Now that I had better equipment, I headed back into the Nether. This time though, I brought some obsidian and flint and steel with me, and my plan was to build another Nether portal right next to the fortress. I could use the place the portal leads to as a bit of a base to store my valuables, and also to respawn in if I died. This new Nether portal led to this cave, which was kind of annoying at first as enemies would spawn, but this cave was actually a pretty lucky find. There's a mine shaft down here, which meant there were lots of rails which were very useful for a trophy that I had to get later on. Eventually, after a lot of searching in the fortress, I found a blaze spawner, so I locked myself into the room and just kept farming the blazes that spawned. I ended up leaving with over 40 rods, which was more than what I needed, but at least I didn't have to go there ever again. I decided to escape the Nether using the portal I just built, and because of the way the Nether works, I was really far away from home. But I preferred to travel thousands of blocks over dying with all of my stuff again. I had the coordinates of my house, so I knew where I was going. I definitely could not have done this without them. While I was in the taiga biome on my way back, I found these wolves, and you need to tame 5 of them to get the trophy, Leader of the Pack. I already tamed one of them, which was back home, so after taming 4 more of them, I got the trophy. As I was making my way back home, I was going to the villages that I saw, and I may or may not have been robbing them. In one of them I found a brewing stand, which was really useful for a trophy once I got back home. I can use this stand to brew potions with blaze powder created from the rods I got earlier, and after I kind of failed to make one with the ingredient I put in, I got a trophy. I was so happy to be back home that I decided to go for even more easy trophies. Crafting and placing a flower pot gives you a trophy, and there's also a trophy for crafting a dispenser. Doing these trophies meant that a lot of the trophies I'd left weren't necessarily hard, but they weren't as simple as just, placing an item on the floor. When it turned to night, I went out creeper hunting, and I got a trophy for killing one with a bow and arrow. The next trophy I decided to go for was Zombie Doctor, which was a bit more complicated. At night, with all of the other zombies, creepers and skeletons, there's a chance of a zombie villager appearing. To get this trophy, I had to cure one of them and turn them back into a normal villager. The way to do this is through a potion of weakness and a golden apple. What's kind of embarrassing is that I dropped the splash potion here instead of actually using it. I had 2 of them though, so I threw the next one properly and used the golden apple, which got me my trophy. The next trophy I went for was called Bodyguard, and it required me to build an iron golem. To make this, you need a lot of iron to create 4 iron blocks, and you also need a carved pumpkin. And once I had all of the items, I went to a nearby village and created the golem, and then got the trophy. The next trophy I went for was music to my ears, which required me to play a music disc in a jukebox. The jukebox is easy enough to craft, the rarest item you need is a diamond, but a music disc is a bit more tricky to get a hold of. You can find them while exploring structures like desert temples, but I hadn't found a single one. However, another way of getting a music disc is getting a skeleton to shoot and kill a creeper. I've always wanted to do this, but I've never been able to do it. The creeper would always just blow up while I was trying to get it shot by the skeleton. So I looked up online any strategies I could use, and I found one where you shove both of them into a boat, and then you stand behind the creeper so the skeleton aims at you, but hits the creeper instead. So I decided to give it a go, and I mean, what could go wrong? And yeah, this was actually way harder than I thought it was going to be. But eventually, I got them both in there. I ran towards the back of the creeper, and the skeleton started shooting it. Now all I had to do was avoid the spiders around me, and just wait. I was at such a high level that I couldn't risk dying, so I ran back into my home to restore some health. And while I was inside, I was praying that the skeleton and the creeper hadn't despawned. And luckily, they hadn't, and as soon as I went back to them, the skeleton killed the creeper, and there it was, the music disc. And then just as I was about to play it, I decided to get rid of the skeleton that was right outside my door. Well, it actually managed to get inside somehow. I mean, I don't know how that happened, I definitely didn't open the door or anything. I was on pretty low hearts, so I literally had to mine through my wall to escape, and I just about got away from it with 1 heart. I don't know why I didn't just wait for it to go away in the morning. I was just impatient, I guess. Anyway, after all of that, I finally played my music disc and got the trophy. After all of that, I decided to go for an easier trophy, being the lie. Epic Portal reference, am I right? To get this trophy, I needed to bake a cake, and all it requires is a bit of sugar, an egg, some wheat, and 3 buckets of milk, which I got from my cow farm I built earlier, which was rapidly expanding, by the way. I don't know how they all fit in there, but I'm not complaining. Once I baked the cake, I got the trophy. The next thing I decided to do was to get into a bit of villager trading. I'd found a decent amount of emeralds from mining, and to get the trophy the Haggler, I needed to obtain 30 emeralds through mining or trading. So I built a nice new home for a villager to be trapped in, I mean for them to live in. And just as I was wondering about who I was going to shove into this place, look who showed up. Yeah, he absolutely loves it in here. He got in himself, actually. There were definitely no boats involved. And yes, while he can never leave that single block space for the rest of his life, he's happy. I think. At least, I don't know. Anyway, now that the villager wasn't going to annoyingly run around and have free will, I kept resetting the items he has to trade using this sticky piston and a button. I was specifically looking for the Mending Enchantment book, which if you enchant one of your items with it, the durability gets restored when you collect XP, so it's really useful. It took ages for him to offer it for trade, and once I got it, I started trading in paper and books for some emeralds. I was trying to get as many mending books as possible, and after trading enough items to get more emeralds, the trophy popped, so I must have reached 30 total. While I was in the village, I thought I'd get the trophy Lion Tamer done, which required me to tame an ocelot. They've added cats to villages now, so I thought the trophy would pop if I tamed one of them, but to my surprise, it didn't. I had to go out and specifically find an ocelot. The main problem with this is that ocelots only spawn in jungle biomes, and there wasn't a single one around me, so I had to set off on a great quest to find a jungle. I was also looking out for a desert as well, since I needed a cactus for something a bit later on. I remembered ocelots being really rare, so I thought there was no way I was going to find one, but luckily there were quite a few. And now I would show you the trophy pop, but my recording decided to freeze, which is just great. I do have the video on my PS5 though, but you can't see the trophy pop. But as you can see, I did do it. I did tame an ocelot. It's kind of weird that the ocelots don't turn into cats anymore, but I guess it makes sense. After that, I carried on looking for a desert, but I did give up eventually and used a seed calculator to find out where my nearest desert biome was. And I'm not joking, it was like over 5,000 blocks away. It was worth travelling all that way though to get a few pieces of cacti, which you'll see why later. The next trophy I got, I also don't have the video of the trophy pop. You see, I was enchanting some new diamond equipment that I had, and I was just curious to see if my sharpness 4 sword was enough to get the trophy overkill, which I would get for dealing 9 hearts of damage in a single hit. So I headed over to my cow farm to give it a go. I didn't think this was going to work. I thought I needed some sort of potion of strength to do it, but it did end up doing enough damage and I got the trophy. Another miscellaneous trophy I went for was When Pigs Fly, and to get this trophy, I had to use a saddle to ride a pig. Then while I was on it, it had to take fall damage. The way I did this was I trapped a pig in a hole, and then I slightly pushed the pig towards another pit that I'd built, and then when it was about to fall, I quickly got on it, and when it took damage, I got the trophy. Now to get the next trophy, Steve had to suffer unfortunately, since I had to starve him and then eat rotten flesh to stop the starvation. This was just cruel, man. The trophy sniper duel I did after that was kinda glitchy. It required me to hit a skeleton with an arrow from over a distance of 50 meters. One of the best ways to do this is to trap a skeleton in one spot, and then build up 50 blocks, and then shoot it from there. Trapping it was kinda hard, but the main problem was that the skeleton would just disappear when I went too far from it. I had to go into the settings and boost my simulation distance to get this to work. It was now finally time for my trip to the desert to pay off. As next, I went for the trophy rainbow collection, and I would get it for collecting all 16 colours of wool. You need dyes to get all of the colours, and luckily, most of these are easy to get. Most of them you can just get from basic flowers you find on the floor. Some of the dyes are a bit more unique though, coming from items like lapis lazuli. And specifically to get the green dye, you have to smelt some cacti, which is why I went looking for a desert. After dyeing loads of wool, I eventually got them all and the trophy popped. While I was starving Steve, I was placing down a lot of rails in this strip mine I'd made. And the reason I was doing this was because there was a trophy for travelling 500 meters in a single direction in a minecart. So I got in my minecart, and while it started pretty quickly, it started going really slow once I ran out of momentum. Also down in this strip mine, I started mining stacks upon stacks of cobblestone, and once I completely filled a chest of it, I got another trophy. And now it was time for me to get what was probably the most difficult and annoying trophy in the whole game for me. You see, I had to defeat a ghast with a fireball, and the way to do this is to use your sword to deflect the ghast's own fireball back at it, Zelda style. This is definitely easier said than done. Well, at least for me. I was struggling to even find ghasts, let alone be in a good enough position to deflect one of its attacks. Even when I did find one, I really struggled to hit the fireball at the right time. And when I did manage to do it, the ghasts would just move away and not get hit by it. They were a pain.
You know, this is starting to piss me off, actually.
I must have died here like 4 times before I said screw it, and got my diamond sword and armor out, which was pretty risky. If I died doing this and couldn't find my stuff, that would be it. My enchanted diamond armor would be gone. I managed to find one in a decent spot, and just as this enderman was attacking me, it sent out a fireball, and I luckily deflected it. And because it couldn't really move anywhere, I hit it and got the trophy. I was so happy I finally got this. And I also got a few ender pearls as well, which is really useful for the end of the game. While I was preparing for a multiplayer trophy I was about to do next, a trophy randomly popped for playing for 100 in-game days. There's only one multiplayer trophy in the game, and it required me to throw diamonds at another player. So all I did was I plugged in my second controller and headed to where player 2 spawned. Then after throwing a diamond at them, I got the trophy. I'm really glad there weren't any other multiplayer trophies in the game. They could have been a bit of a pain. The only thing left for me to do now was to get to the end and beat the Ender Dragon to finish the game for my final few trophies. This is where I combined the Ender Pearls and the Blaze Powder I'd got to make some Eyes of Ender. Throwing these into the sky led me to where the stronghold is, and inside there is the Ender Portal which takes me to the end. They led me to this nearby village, and apparently the stronghold was literally right below it. So I dug down, and I ended up in this weird orange and green place with loads of annoying enemies. Because I hadn't played the game in ages, I thought these might have been updated strongholds, but as I kept wandering around searching for the end portal, I realised that this was a whole nother separate place. So I dug up again and went back down in a bit of a different spot, and I just about found the proper stronghold. Even here I got a bit confused though, since there weren't too many rooms, and I was kinda worried that there wasn't an end portal here, and maybe that other place messed it up or something being right next to it. I mined through a few walls, and thankfully found another set of rooms. And after a little bit of searching, I found the portal. I placed the essential things in this room like a bed, a chest and a crafting table, and then I placed my Eyes of Ender into the portal. I was kinda nervous to be honest. I knew what I had to do though, so I jumped in and got the trophy, the end. I spawned into the end underground, and once I surfaced, the first thing I did was go for the end crystals on the towers, as the Ender Dragon uses them to refill its health. Some of them I had to build up to and destroy, while others I managed to take out using my bow. I also had to make sure not to look at the Endermen too closely, otherwise they would attack me. Some buckets of water are really useful here to keep the Endermen away if they start attacking you. I also placed buckets of water by the towers whilst climbing up them, just in case I got knocked off or something. Once I'd taken out all of the crystals, I started to attack the dragon itself, and I did way more damage to it than I thought I was going to do. I may have overprepared a little bit to be honest with my enchanted infinite ammo bow. The hitbox on the Ender Dragon was kinda weird sometimes though. I would hit it and it just wouldn't register the attack for some reason. But honestly, this was kind of easy, and after a few headshots, I defeated it. I grabbed the dragon egg, got my XP, and jumped into the final portal. After watching the weirdly deep credits, I got the trophy The End, and then I finally got the platinum. This was a lot of fun to revisit. Before this, I'd never beaten the game on console goal before. The platinum wasn't too hard to get, and again, I'm just happy there was only one multiplayer trophy. I want to platinum some of the other Minecraft games eventually, especially Minecraft Story Mode, that looks really funny. Anyway, if you like this video, definitely consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you next time.